Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. All right, man. Thank you all. I love you all. Thank you so much for checking me out yet again. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and help me to continue to build what? The worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. All right, man. Thank you all. I want to, in this video, address something a little more esoteric, right? And we're going to title this video Archons Elites. This thing, while serious, is actually also a little bit comical to me, right? Being one who has had many of, we'll say, contact, right, with archonic energies, right, or frequencies, low vibrational frequencies. I'm very familiar with how that energy, how those low vibes play out in the human beings that may be stuck at that low vibrational frequency resonance, right? And not only just that, but the other ways that those energies and low vibrational frequencies manifest, right? And it's funny to me because it's always very immature. And that's easy to recognize for me. It never ceases to amaze me how petty these archons are, how petty that energy manifests in people, how painfully immature their behavior is, and the manifestation of that energy is. And I continue to reflect back to that description of immaturity because that's the most fitting, right? It is an energy and a vibrational frequency that is very much underdeveloped, I think is a good statement, right? Whereas as human beings who are spiritual entities living a physical 3D, 4D linear experience as a human being, we have that opportunity, right, to mature from the situational input that we experience in our lives. That stimuli pushes us towards spiritual maturation. Well, as I spoke and described many times and through our previous videos, the characteristics of what we would call energy vampires, right? Or low vibers, low vibrational frequency energies and entities. And in general, the archonic forces, right? They most certainly, because of that deficiency, right, that they suffer from. Remember, the energy vampires suffer from a spiritual and energetic deficiency because of that lack of a connection with source, right? And that deficiency, one of the symptoms of it is also lack of an opportunity and ability to spiritually mature the way human beings do as we live this physical experience. So because of that, they are in fact very immature, right? And very aptly described as so. And even though the behavior patterns and many of the things that they do while they are immature, and while they are negative or low vibrational frequency, and most certainly full of ill intent, which is certainly never a good thing. And we do need to take that seriously, right? However, if you look at the basis of the action or the reaction or whatever way in which they manifest that ill intent, it's usually a very immature way. And when I say immature, I mean sort of like how you would imagine, I don't know, 4th or 5th graders to behave, toward each other in the playground, right? Or maybe even younger, right? And I mean specifically when you see them sort of clashing a little bit, maybe not getting along. There could be a few bullies in there, right? All of those are very, very characteristic of the behavior patterns of these low vibrational frequency energies / entities and the archonic forces in general. Now, what is very important for us to be able, and when I say us, I mean individuals who are in this awakening process, right? Wherever you are in your own process, what's very important for us is to be able to utilize the tools at our disposal to effectively deal with these energies, these low vibrational frequency entities, these archonic forces. And to do so where it's not a hardship to us, right? So the most effective tool that I would have to recommend is utilizing and learning to utilize perception as a powerful tool, right? So when you are coming in contact with or you're experiencing that sort of low vibrational frequency behavior, when you analyze it or when you observe it, do so with that backdrop in mind, right? Whereas you understand this is something that is being perpetrated by a very immature energy, a very immature entity. It's emanating from a source that is absent the ability to gain spiritual maturity. And when you do so, and when you think of it more of like, immature, poorly behaving children in the sandlot or on the playground, right? When you view it appropriately in that way, that perspective affords you the ability to sort of take it light, right? Not to ignore it or not to adequately address it in whatever situation you may be in, but also not to allow it to really affect you in a deep manner, right? Certainly not to allow it to impede in any way your progress in your awakening process, right? On your path of spiritual maturity. It should never interfere with that, right? And by utilizing perspective as a tool and seeing the immaturity that you're witnessing, it's a lot easier to do that. Also, another way that you want to employ perspective is being able to view these events at different levels, different experiential levels, right? You have experiences that you will encounter in your everyday life, right? And the folks around you, maybe family and friends, that some of them may be dealing with or struggling with these low vibrational frequencies. may be impacted by archonic forces in some way, right? When you deal with them and that behavior manifests, if you have the correct perspective, you're able to, again, not allow it to impact you, not to become angry with them or combative, but rather to look upon them with a degree of compassion, realize that they are, in fact, struggling with very low energy, and have the ability to extend patience beyond what might be expected of you in that particular situation, right? At least typically. And then another way to utilize that perspective is to realize these things are playing out in different levels of our life, right? I referenced different experiential levels. So there's the level where it's in our more immediate circle. And then you'll see it, in your community, right? In the community level, from different individuals you may come in contact with. And we can continue to extrapolate that throughout your city, your state. And then we could take it to another level and start to look at global events, right? And folks, I really need you to realize that these are often the most telling, right? Because they require more coordinated effort and energy on the part of these archonic forces. So if they are pooling their energy, and if they are concentrating their efforts at a global level on something, that's very important as an objective for them, right? And often if you take in the perspective of, all right, these archonic forces are acting this way, or are exhibiting this particular behavior or action pattern for X reason or in response to this. Moreover, and most commonly, whenever you see something that is capturing your attention, particularly in the news or any other form of multimedia that we know is controlled by those 6 corporations that script all these things out at the behest of the socioeconomic elite, when you are observing these things, realize that the more dramatic the action that they are taking, right, the more seemingly dastardly the act that they are taking, or the more nefarious the action that they're taking, or the way that is manifesting, the more so you recognize that, you need to recognize the fact that they are doing so in great response to what they perceive as a threat. Often you'll see indications that these archonic forces are indeed in panic mode, right? And really, folks, I often run into people who observe how I handle or process, you might call them attacks, right? Even though we could be talking about something fairly mundane, or fairly average interactions. But often, even other people are able to recognize and see, at least this is my experience, right? Other people in the surrounding area are able to recognize and see the reaction that my high vibrational frequency biosphere induces out of low vibrational frequency energies and or individuals who are suffering and struggling with that low vibrational frequency energy, right? And often other people are shocked, right? And they're quite often saying to themselves or to me, "Wow, what's that all about?" And they're often very shocked at my calm, uninterrupted, unimpeded response, right? Which is often very limited and very controlled, because I always view the actions of the Archons, knowing what they are, right, as energy vampires and as truly spiritually immature entities and or energies. I always view their actions as an indication of how desperate they are and are becoming overall. And folks, they truly are. Why are they becoming desperate? Because while all of this has been going on, there is what you might refer to as a counter, so to speak, or a ticker, right? A clock, if you're more comfortable with that, or a timer that is counting down, if you will, to the point where this planet's vibrational frequency resonance, the Schumann resonance, you can look it up for yourself, will be, and it's ever increasing, right? Will be too high of a vibratory nature for many of these archonic forces to exist on the planet, right? That is both an inevitability and an eventuality that is imminent, right? It's going to get to that point. It's rapidly approaching that point, and there's nothing that can be done to stop that. Again, I'm referring to our solar system's orbit as it traverses its way around the center of the galaxy, much the way the planets in our solar system orbit the sun. All the solar systems in the galaxy orbit the center of the galaxy. So we are where we're at. And there's no taking that back. We're in this sector of the galaxy. We're in this astrological house, this Aquarian house. We are in this area, and we are already benefiting and have been benefiting from the highly transformative energies that are bombarding the planet in this particular point of our orbit around the center of the galaxy, right? Around the big wheel, right? Some people call it the big revolution, right? As we continue to do our orbit, our galactic orbit. All right. So what I'm saying is, folks, please never lose sight of the fact that as to whether or not, as to what the outcome of all of this eventually will be. Eventually, folks, it's almost just the matter of a calculation, right? The day when archonic forces will not be able to inhabit this planet is approaching, inevitably. It cannot, there's nothing that they can do, as drastic as many of their actions and reactions may be. There's literally nothing they can do to stop that. Now, you'll see, very drastic things like, you folks can look this up for yourself, but if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Gates paid something like $3+ million to one of the Ivy League colleges to challenge them and their students to come up with a way in which to effectively block or blot out the sun. Why would that even be an objective is something that the average individual who may not yet have fully digested or be aware of the archonic presence on this planet, they may be wondering that, and that might be something you can use to sort of pique your attention up and realize that, yes, this is going on. There are many other things. I'm not going to start to come up with a list of all the drastic reactions. You could list and mention what's going on in the Ukraine and the unfortunate thing that those folks are having to deal with that that military conflict. You could say that that's part of it, and certainly is and would be, right? But all of these drastic actions that would have the average person who is not aware of the fact that, yeah, these Archons are rapidly, I repeat, rapidly running out of time, right? The average individual who may not know or perceive that may have difficulty in properly processing these global events and reading them as signs of desperation on the part of these Archons or Archonic forces, right? But that's in fact what it is. I'm happy to report that is in fact what it is. So folks, my plea to you is do not become depressed. Don't get down and start to have any form of a murky or bleak outlook on the future. That is actually what their most direct aim is, because they have no power to impact really anything on this planet. Their power comes in manipulating us to impact things on this planet. Truth. So realize what's happening. Understand, again, that these things are not signs of doom and gloom to come and are not indications that we have a bleak future ahead. We do not, right? This planet is not ending. We are not going to be in a state of suffrage. We're not going into a dystopia. These things are not happening, but that's what the Archonic forces want you to process daily and to always have on your mind, right? Please don't do that. Please see through that and recognize that see these actions as what and for what they are. Signs of desperation on the part of these low vibrational frequency entities, energies, / these Archonic forces on the planet whose time tick, 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 is rapidly running out. That is the truth, folks. Take your own efforts to sort of uncover whatever research you need to support that. And I'm most certain that you will indeed find or come to a similar conclusion, because that's what's going on the planet, right? Please do not let any of the events of what happens globally, what happens to you on a daily basis, maybe even what happens right in your family. Do not let these things depress you. Do not let them make you sad or distracted, right? Often these things are meant as a distraction to keep us not focused on something that the Archons or socially economic elite do not want us to focus on, right? So see through and past all of that, and in fact, further claim victory on this planet for our beautiful new paradigm that we are, in fact, cementing now. A new paradigm of peace, love, respect. All right. Folks, thank you very much. Please continue to like, share, subscribe, and let's continue to build what? The worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq. I'm out.